Welcome to the Community Spotlight this morning. Good morning, everyone. I am Jared Schaefer, and we are visiting this morning with U.S. Congressman John Shimkus. And Congressman, how are you doing this morning?
Jared, I'm doing great. How are you? It's a beautiful day. A little chilly out here in Washington, but the sun is shining, so that always helps.
Absolutely. It's 60 degrees here in the state of Illinois, and we'll gladly take 60 degrees, going to a high of 70 today, and, throughout east central Illinois. We'll gladly take this at the end of March.
You bet. I'm envious. It did get down to freezing out here Monday night, so it's been nippy.
I think it just kind of depends. It was maybe 50s, low 60s on Monday, but then right back up into 70 degrees. Today, and even tomorrow. So we'll gladly take this, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that the snow and the ice are done with maybe for the season.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and I'm sure cherry blossoms out by you are in full bloom.
No, they're all knocked down.
All knocked down.
The storm came through, knocked them all down, and the freeze killed the rest of them. So it's a Cherry Blossom Festival, I think, is a 5-week festival, and maybe they got 2 weeks out of the blossom. So, you just can't. God's in control.
Yeah, he is.
You just can't try to plan. Man's time just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. And even though it probably would have been nice to see the cherry blossoms for 5 full weeks, but we'll gladly take half that time, I'm sure.
Right.
Let's kind of talk what's on the plate for Congress in the next couple months before the election.
Well, we're doing our budget today. There's 5 different budget options from the House Republican budget that's been produced by Paul Ryan, which is what we're calling the path to prosperity. It really starts addressing our deficit and long-term national debt. Very excited about it. There will be other budgets. I think the Democrats have put a budget forward, the Progressives, the Congressional Black Caucus, the Republican Study Committee. They'll all have an hour to debate, and then we'll vote what's called King of the Hill. The one that gets the most votes will be what we pass. I assume that'll be the Paul Ryan budget. And then we're really struggling with the highway bill. Mm-hmm. What we're going to do, the Senate's passed a 2-year bill, which is better than nothing. I kind of agree with both sides that say if that bill got on the floor, it would probably pass. Republican leadership wants to bring a little more money to the highway bill, some institutional reforms, but they're struggling. So I don't know at the end of the day what's going to happen.
Absolutely. And do you think maybe in an election year that we are in that, some of these, like the budget, can get passed and approved and the highway bill be passed and be approved?
No. I mean, the Senate hasn't passed the budget in 3 years. We will make the case that they should try 4th time and get a budget this year. By us passing a budget, it's going to highlight the fact that they failed to do their work, which the public should understand. I mean, a lot of times they're trying to put the blame on the Republican House members. But how can we negotiate if the Senate never passes a budget? It's the craziest thing. And by us passing one, hopefully it'll throw the highlight back on the Senate and say, do your job, pass a budget, and then let's go to work on an agreement between the two.
Mm-hmm. So then maybe in the past, you said 3 years they haven't passed a budget. Then what happens then if both the House the House approved it but the Senate didn't? What happens in those situations?
Well, the budget is an outline, a guideline on how we should spend our money. That we would argue that's part of our problem. We pass appropriation bills which fund the government. Hopefully a budget helps you keep into the parameters of those numbers, but if you don't do that, then there's really no parameter on what your spending bills are.
So it just kind of throws a big wrench into the situation.
Well, we think so. And it's, it's fairly frustrating.
Something obviously that needs to be taken care of.
Well, I think, the public wants us to do our job. If we can't do the basic job of passing a budget, then, what good are we?
Is that maybe one of the things that you've heard from constituents when back here in East Central Illinois?
Well, I think once you talk through the process, they understand it. But, no, it's something that they don't, you have to talk them through it. It's not, they want less spending, they want the debt, they want the economy to recover. But as far as the process, they're not really that in tune to the process.
Okay, well, maybe keep our fingers crossed that the fourth time is the charm, at least, on getting the budget cuts. And obviously, another thing going on in Washington right now, the health care law being debated in the Supreme Court, and I understand you're going to be present for oral arguments on that.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. Been following, and not as I think a lot of Americans are tuning in to at least the reports of what's going on in the Supreme Court chamber. I've never heard oral arguments. There are two today. One's on severability, which is if it's declared unconstitutional, does that strike the whole law? And then this afternoon, we'll have arguments about the Medicaid expansion, really relevant to the state of Illinois, because even though we're a very generous state on Medicaid, that's why Illinois is going broke. And when we passed the national health care law, we even expanded Medicaid outside the venues of the state of Illinois and other states. And the argument is the federal government doesn't have the authority to do that.
Absolutely. We'll definitely see how kind of things turn out on all of that. We're visiting this morning with U.S. Congressman John Shimkus here on the Community Spotlight on the new WRJM News Talk 1270 AM and 107 FM. Welcome back to the Community Spotlight on this Wednesday morning. Good morning, everyone. I am Jared Schaefer. We are visiting this morning with U.S. Congressman John Shimkus. And Congressman, healthcare law, obviously something everybody is keeping an eye on today. Also, rising gas prices, something to maybe be concerned about in an election year. Well,
not just concerned about it in an election year. I mean, it's just, I'm so frustrated about this gas price debate. It's really unavoidable. It's poor public policy over the decades. We have our own oil and gas reserves. We could build more refineries. It's a simple supply and demand debate. EPA regs make it more difficult. Summer and spring and mixtures and the like. It's just like having a 2x4 and just hitting ourselves over the head, especially in what we could call rural America. I mean, we drive long distances to get wherever we need to go, whether that's to school, that's to the healthcare, the hospital, or the doctor's office, or to the grocery store. And this really impacts the ability of people in rural America to save money and like, because it just takes all that discretionary money out of their pocket, and it's so unavoidable. And as you can tell, I'm very frustrated by the debate.
Right. Even for me, the consumer, you're frustrated that, gas prices can go up, 10, 15, 20 cents at a time, but then it takes 3 weeks, a month, 6 weeks, 2 months to even come down that 10 cents. They're only going to come down maybe, 2 cents or 3 cents or a penny, here and there.
Yeah, it's the poor retailer who ends up, they're just passing along that path, but they're the ones who get beat up by the motorists for those simple reasons.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, less people are coming there to buy gas, but then, if they are in to buy gas, maybe they'll come into the convenience store and buy, a stick of gum or, a pop or, something else that they're probably losing the business as well.
Right. That's right.
So any solutions? What does maybe the Environmental Protection Agency have to say on this?
Well, again, it's what does this president have to say about it, and why do we continue to promote policies that deprive ourselves of our own ability to access our own oil and gas reserves? And you'll hear him say, "Oh, we're producing more oil than in the history of the country." It's all on private land. It's really the private sector that's doing it. It's not the government. We have decreased our ability to access oil and gas on government lands. He vetoed the Keystone XL pipeline. We are reaping what we sowed in poor public policy.
Would the pipeline help to this situation?
Well, let me give you an example. In 1996, President Clinton vetoed the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, saying this will not provide us immediate assistance because we won't see the crude oil in 10 years. Now we're 16 years later, and guess what? We're not in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, and I would argue that had we done that, we would be in a better place. Maybe not for prices, but definitely for energy security. Mm-hmm. Part of the risk premium is the Strait of Hormuz and all the problems in the Middle East, and that 20% of the imported oil we receive comes through the Strait of Hormuz. If we're going to talk about boycotting Iran and possibly Israeli airstrikes to shut down their nuclear capability, do you think the Strait of Hormuz will be closed down? I do. The question is how long. I would say, I don't have any insider information, but I would imagine at least 30 days. What will that do to the oil markets worldwide? I think it'll just push them through the roof. So, again, it would be better for us to be masters of our own destiny and have our own oil and gas reserves that we can use and refine without being reliant on imported crude oil.
And taking the solution into our own hands. You know, the pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline might be that solution. Like you said, we might not see it tomorrow or in a month, but 5-10 years from now, correct?
Yeah, actually, there are already parts of the pipeline permitted. It doesn't take very long to build a pipeline. The oil sands is already being used to either mine this crude oil, or there's another type of underground recovery called in situ, and those two processes. So we don't have to develop the oil fields; they're already developed. This is a matter of just building a dang pipeline, which would only take 1.5 to 2 years.
And of course, create the coveted jobs that so many people are looking for. I think I read unemployment, at least on the federal level, about 8.3, 8.4%.
Well, again, a frustrating debate. We quote 20,000 jobs. The opponents say, oh, it's not that much, and it's a lot less. But who cares? I mean, isn't one new job better than no new job? Whether it's 20,000 or whether it's 5,000?
A lot better.
I would think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Any future plans on the House floor to help out, get those millions of people back to work?
Well, as soon as I get off the phone, I'll go to my subcommittee hearing on energy and power, and here we have folks from the EPA testifying and industry as a whole. So we were hoping to put a lot of this energy exploration recovery and the money, the royalties that would come to the federal treasury to use in helping build roads and bridges. That goes back to our highway bill discussion, the challenges that we have. So now we're having a hearing on what we call the American Energy Initiative. Again, there's numerous people are testifying, the EPA and the private sector guys from Energy North America, and an all-of energy strategy. This is the beginning of a couple hearings to try to maybe develop an energy bill outside the highway bill provisions.
And we'll keep our fingers crossed that some agreements can be met in the middle, maybe if both sides can meet in the agreement, both on healthcare and the transportation bill and gas prices. We'll just kind of have to take a wait and see approach and see how things turn out. Yeah, well, and our process forces us to compromise at the end. So we have to move forward. Again, it's going back to the whole budget debate. We'll pass our budget. How do you go to conference? How do you get forced to go into the room if the Senate doesn't pass a budget bill? Likewise, we can pass all the energy bills that we think are going to be helpful. If the Senate doesn't bring them up, then we're kind of in limbo land until they decide that they need, for whatever purpose, they need to address these issues. Absolutely. Well, Congressman, we're just about out of time. Before we let you go, phone number for people to get in contact with you if they have questions and concerns? Yeah, of course, you're in a new part of the new 15th, which is not officially my district now, so I don't have local office in that area yet. I guess the closest one would be the Springfield office line, which is 217-492-5090.
People also can follow me on Facebook. I have an account there. I do tweet, as I said offline, that we tweeted that I was on the radio show. You know, we're trying to use all that new media.
And Congressman, I'm sorry to interrupt. They were actually out of time here on the Community Spotlight here on the new WRJM News Talk 1270 AM and 107 FM.